Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for joining me today. This is Spiguyver Backpacking. I'm Spiguyver, and today I'm out here to introduce a new series that I'm going to be bringing to you guys. So this series is going to be a boiling series. So this is going to be a stove series where I go through a bunch of the different alcohol stoves. We may get into some of the wood stoves, we may do some canister stoves, but I wanted to do some comparisons and give you guys a little bit of perspective here and change things up and not just do everything using my 550. So why don't we talk about the protocols that I'm going to be using during this series. So let's go. Okay, so for this series, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing boil tests. We're going to be using a variety of different stoves, from the modified Starlight to the Spiguyver stove to the Kojin to a lot of different alcohol stoves. You know, the Fancy Feast stove, different stoves that are out there, batch stoves, maybe some brass light stoves, just all kinds of different ones that are out there. If you guys have ideas for stoves that you want to see tested, shoot them my way. Let me know about them. If it's something I haven't heard of before, awesome. I definitely want to know about that. So this is what we're doing. I've kind of set up an area out here in my garage that I can do this. Right now I've got the garage door open. You may hear some leaves flying around out there. But what this is going to do is give me a nice controlled environment to work in. So in here I can close the doors. I've got plenty of light over here. We can do this and not be affected by any of the outside environmental factors. No wind gonna be a problem. We can keep pretty much some standard settings in here. But I bought some new toys. I've got this thermometer with a timer and a probe, so I could start this up over here, put it in the pot, and we'll know exactly when it hits a boil. There's no guessing. There's no saying, oh, well, you know, there's enough bubbles there. Like I said, 209 degrees is what we're going to be using, and the reason is 212 is the international boil point at sea level, normal standard day. Because I'm close to 1,500 feet above sea level, for every 500 feet, you subtract a degree. 3 degrees for 1,500 feet, that's 209. So that's where we're getting that number from. So like I had mentioned before, we're not just going to be using the 550. I also have a 700, and the reason that we're going to try both of these is you can see the difference in the dimensions here. The wider pot bottom of the 700 compared to the 550 is going to give a different result. Likewise, I'm also going to be doing a Foster's pot. And the reason I'm going to do the Foster's pot is it's got two different things that are different. Instead of a flat bottom, it's got the domed bottom of a beer can. And it's a little bit smaller. So we're going to give that a shot and see how that works out. Now, in order to get the height right, I have purchased some hardware cloth, and I have made a variety of pot stands. You know, a 4, a 5, a 6. Different heights to make sure that we get the right height from flame or from the burner to the bottom of the pot. So we've got plenty of these, and if I need a new one, I can just make another one. I've got a roll of it back here. So we've got that going. In order to measure out fuel, I have both the measuring cup and a scale. So we want to make sure that it's accurate every time. So we're going to actually fill it and weigh it before using it to make sure that it is apples to apples comparison. And we've got the scale so that we can do burnout tests or blowout tests after we've done a boil. So that's kind of the setup. The protocol is going to be one boil with each one of the pots just to see what we come up with. We'll measure the temperature of the water prior, bring it up to that 209, and it'll be a direct comparison across the pots so that you can figure out with each stove which type of pot is going to work best. Do you want one with a domed bottom that catches the flame in there? Do you want one with a small profile that all of the flame gets used there, or do you want one with a bigger base because the flame pattern is wider? So those are the questions that we're going to get answered as we go through this series and do each of the different stoves that we're going to test. Now, we will also try to figure out efficiency-wise what makes the best sense, which stove kind of where they fall in the range, and we'll keep a running tally, kind of like Top Gear did, you know, their test track. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep a running tally, and that should be a lot of fun. We'll see where the stoves rank up, and yeah. So the next thing, how much water are we going to be boiling? So I've done a lot of watching boil tests, and you know, you've got Hiram did a whole bunch of these things, and he ranged back and forth between using 2 cups or just using the 16.9 from pouring a whole bottle in there. I have opted not to do 1 cup and not to do 2 cups, but to do 1.5 cups. And the reason is that's the most realistic for what I am normally doing out on the trail. I've got a variety of meals just sitting over here. So I've got 4 different meals here from different companies. So I've got one from Wild Zoro. So this is a mountain beef stew. This one needs 1.5 cups of water. I've got tortilla soup, one of my favorites from Packet Gourmet. 12 ounces of water, 1.5 cups. I've got the Mexican hamburger skillet from Outdoor Pantry. 1 cup of boiling water. I've got a breakfast from Outdoor Pantry, the Fiesta Ham and Egg Scramble. This one uses 3/4 of a cup of water. And as you can see, a lot of the meals that I use, and actually I went through my stuff and I found one that used 2 cups. Everything else was 1.5 or less. So the majority of the stuff that I use, 1.5 is what I need. And so that's where my basis for what I'm doing comes from. You may want to know what 2 cups does. Well, if you take the 1.5 cups, it's going to be a good comparison from each stove to the next. So you'll be able to figure out what it would do with a little bit more water in there. So that's kind of the protocol. That's what we're going to do with this. I'm looking forward to getting this thing going. So stick with me. We're going to get this thing. Over the next few weeks, you'll start to see these things rolling out. We'll be doing just the stove tests, just like I've set up in here. We'll also do some efficiency tests. And one of the things that I know a lot of people have wondered about is caldera cones and whether they're more efficient than a windscreen. And if so, how much? So we're going to play around with that and test that out as well. You guys stick with me. It's going to be fun. Thanks, guys. I'll see you down the trail.